The Atlanta Falcons have finally done it. They benched Kirk Cousins. Yes, I know this happened yesterday. Your boy was out of town, so we're talking about it today. Because if you are not new to the channel, and if you have tuned into my weekly Tuesday tier list, you have seen my thoughts on the Falcons for weeks now. This offense is stagnant. This offense is boring. I was sitting here praying that this team would not get into the playoffs. But now a change at quarterback, as we have Kirk Cousins going to the bench and Michael Penix Jr. coming into the lineup. And I think the Falcons had virtually no choice but to make this change. Because, normally when you just say this out loud, a team that is 500 on the cusp of potentially making a playoffs, the last 3 weeks of the season really matter. They are benching their veteran quarterback for a rookie. You don't typically hear that, and it sounds out of whack, it sounds wonky, it sounds like it shouldn't belong. But ultimately, it was the only move the Falcons could make if they had any chance of having success in the postseason. Because let's just say the Falcons had made the playoffs with Kirk Cousins. That offense was terrible. Kirk had been playing terrible. They may have snuck their way in because at the end of the season, they won 2 games, or maybe Tampa fell apart, or whatever it turned out to be. But Kirk Cousins has been bad. I got some stats here. Since week 10, Kirk Cousins has 1 passing touchdown to 9 interceptions. We're going into week 16. It's a 5-game sample. 1 passing touchdown, 9 interceptions. Generally, good quarterbacks have a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. This guy's 1-9. The Falcons are 1-4 in their last 5 games, with their only win coming this past Monday night against a Las Vegas Raiders team who is currently the favorite to have the number 1 pick in the draft, who was on their 3rd-string quarterback. And they barely beat them. The Raiders had a shot to win the game at the end. This offense, on the whole season, has scored 30-plus points 1 time. To put it in perspective, I'm pretty sure the Bills have done that for the last 2 months. And again, I'm not saying that the Falcons need to be the Bills. But in comparison, they are not a talented offense. And it really does start at the quarterback position. Because when you look around the Falcons, nobody doubts the talent of Bijan Robinson. Nobody doubts the talent of Drake London. Darnell Mooney's actually proven to be pretty solid this year. Kyle Pitts, I don't know. I might have lost hope on him, but he kind of went from bad quarterback play to, once again, bad quarterback play with Kirk Cousins. So I'm excited to see what the last 3 weeks with Michael Penix can be. If Kyle Pitts doesn't show life at this point, that could be a whole other tangent. But the point being, Penix is a guy you had to go to. And Penix isn't your typical rookie quarterback either. Penix, 24 years old, not exactly a spring chicken. Played 6 years of college ball. 4 years in Indiana and then 2 at Washington. Played under Kalen DeBoer, who is now the head coach of Alabama. Was chosen to be the successor of Nick Saban. Got to be kind of a smart guy to get that role. And Ryan Grubb, who is the offensive coordinator currently for the Seattle Seahawks. He's played with NFL weapons like Rome Odunze, Jalen McMillan, and even Jalen Polk. Michael Penix, the draft pick at 8 was so stunning, not just because the Falcons had signed Kirk Cousins to that deal, which obviously, yes, that does make it stunning, but because you're drafting a guy who is old for a rookie quarterback. If they had drafted J.J. McCarthy, 21, raw talent, obviously the size and strength were there, but you want him to learn, it would have made more sense. Michael Penix, 24, kind of not set in his ways, but the player you're taking. Very similar to Bo Nix. The guy had been in college football forever. When you draft that guy, you want to get him out there as soon as possible. Typically, the Falcons, they fell in love with Penix, whether that was through draft interviews, the combine, whatever it may be. But it was very clear and apparent to many NFL fans that when the Falcons drafted Penix, it was an odd move. It was not one that they had planned when they signed Kirk Cousins. They didn't go signing Kirk Cousins and go, and then we're going to follow that up with the number 8 pick and we are going to take Michael Penix. I had imagined that in their mind, they were going to be taking a Dallas Turner or a Jared Verse or an offensive lineman. I heard the rumors of Roma Dunze. Like, every position but quarterback was basically rumored for the Falcons at that pick. It was the shock of the draft. And now, people may say, oh, see, it's good that the Falcons took Penix because look at what happened with Kirk. While that might be true, they're also the team that paid Kirk Cousins, a 36-year-old quarterback who was never really mobile, was always a pocket passer, and was coming off a torn Achilles injury. Not exactly a guy that you think is going to get better. You knew some regression was coming, and I don't blame the Falcons because we didn't know that the regression was going to be this high. You know, when the offseason was there and the Falcons were making moves and they brought in these pieces and a lot of people had them picked to win the division. I'm mad at myself because I was strong on Tampa winning this division until the Matthew Judon trade. And I said, okay, that's probably enough for the Falcons to have a real pass rush. And it wasn't. And that's a killer in its own right. But when the Falcons signed Kirk Cousins, many people thought that this would be an upgrade, a good move. So let's not, rewrite history here. But me and you don't have the access to Kirk Cousins and his medicals that the Falcons front office does. Me and you don't get to make those decisions. But I'll tell you what, if I had made the decision to get Kirk Cousins, I probably am not making the decision to draft Michael Penix Jr. Now, that's what happened. So I'm excited to see where things progress here from the Falcons and in terms of what does Michael Penix give you? Because they start him off against the Giants. And not that Michael Penix, I expect him to be Lamar Jackson by any means, but he gets to come in against a defense that Lamar Jackson just had more touchdown passes than incompletions. So he should be able to have a successful debut with the people he has. I want to look at the Falcons' rest of season schedule here just to kind of figure out where they'd be. Then they play the Commanders. That's now a Sunday night football game. So, I mean, flexed into Sunday night because obviously massive playoff implications there. And then the Panthers in the last week of the season. So, like, there's really a world where Penix leads this Falcons team 3-0 over this last stretch. It's not unimaginable. You know, the Giants and Panthers are both 3-2 win teams. And the Commanders, they've kind of had a fall off in the second half of this year as well. The offense, the Cliff Kingsbury deal, it just kind of has hit a wall. Obviously, they have relied on the pure brilliance of Jaden Daniels, but they play the Eagles this week. So if you see a scenario where the Falcons win this week against the Giants and the Eagles beat the Commanders, next week, if the Falcons beat the Commanders on Sunday Night Football, they'd have the same record, meaning the Falcons would get into the playoffs over the Commanders, regardless of what happens in the Buccaneers situation. There's a world where this move propels the Falcons to the playoffs, regardless of what we see with Tampa Bay. Tampa could win out, but if Atlanta wins out, they're probably in because they'll be in over Washington. And that, that's probably why that game was flexed. I didn't think about it at the time when that game was flexed. I was kind of like, odd choice, but I guess it's a better matchup. But, there's some real playoff implications at stake. And for Tampa Bay, they go to Dallas this week. Then they host Carolina and host New Orleans. So, Dallas has been playing some good ball. Bryce Young has been decent. Bryce Young could play spoiler to his NFC South rival, whether that's the Buccaneers or the Falcons at the end of the season. But, the NFC South is shaping up to be quite interesting here. I'm excited to see Michael Penix. He's certainly more mobile than Kirk Cousins. He has a really good deep ball. We watched him succeed very well at Washington, finished second in Heisman his last year. Obviously was playing again with a great head coach, an NFL type offensive coordinator, NFL level wide receivers, good offensive linemen. So was in a really good spot to succeed, but he did in that spot. Atlanta's a good spot, decent offensive line, real run game with Bijan and Algier. good weapons to throw the ball to. Like, the Falcons now have excitement. If you have watched the tier list again, you know my tone on the Falcons has been, do I really have to sit here and watch this team? And now my tone is, I'm kind of excited to see what happens with the Atlanta Falcons. Not something that I thought I'd be saying at this point in the season, yet here we are. And I'm not disappointed to be saying it. I'm not disappointed to be saying it at all. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think of the Falcons' move to bench Kirk Cousins and start Michael Penix? What are your expectations for them? Are you excited to see this team? That Sunday Night Football game, not this week, but next week, now has some major implications for the playoffs if things just kind of go the way we may expect them to this weekend. As always, if you love the NFL and you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that button. Limited time left to be within the first 100 subscribers, but there is still time left. I appreciate y'all's support. I'll catch you next time. Peace.